Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can see, I've got some submissions for pictures that I really love looking at. So if you want to see your picture show up on my pre um, pre-stream live show, you can send it to me at betheedutainer@gmail.com. You can send me a message on Facebook Messenger or any of the other social media accounts. So, today we have a very exciting show in store for you. We are going to space. That's right, you heard me correctly. We're going to outer space with Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus. But before we take any kinds of trips, we need to make sure that we've got a map, okay? So let me show you my map and we're gonna make one together. Now, the solar system is a lot bigger than you probably ever would have thought. So if you are at home right now and you're watching the stream, write in the comments if you can hear me, my producer's at home. Before I get too far into my instructions, just let me know that this is all working correctly and then we'll get started. In the meantime, I also wanted to show you that I finally started my time capsule. So this time capsule I downloaded from a graphic designer. I put it on my page with the credits, and now I'm creating it myself. So I cut out a bunch of things from it, and now I'm going to keep track of all of my friends that I'm making and so on. So let me make sure that I can see uh, how is the audio. All right, so we'll see if anyone is there. Okay, beautiful. So, as I said, we need a map in order to get started. So, I would like you to get either a piece of paper, a poster, you can tape a bunch of paper together. You want it to be as long as your arm width, okay, or your wingspan. So, let me actually tilt this up just a tad. There we go. So, this piece of wrapping paper that I found is perfect. As you can see, it's a little bit left over. I really like this kind because it's got dotted lines on the inside. So we're going to map our solar system with this. Now, when we're all done, it's going to look a little bit like mine, but with your own flair to it. Well, I don't want to give it away yet, so I'll show you mine at the very end. All right, so here we go. We've got our really big piece of wrapping paper. Now, on one end is going to be the sun, and the other end we're going to use as Pluto. I know that Pluto technically isn't a planet anymore, but that dwarf planet is a good bookmarker in our solar system. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this magnet up there and grab a marker. Make sure you ask your grown-ups before you do this. And I'm just going to make a little S at the top for sun, and all the way at the bottom, I'm going to make a P for Pluto. Okay, now there's very specific folding directions here. So, oh, thank you so much, Kira. I love any kind of space dress. And just wait until you make this map. You guys are going to love it, I know. So the first step, once you have your paper labeled with the sun on top, Pluto on bottom, the first thing you're going to do is fold the entire thing in half. So you're going to bring Pluto up to the sun, and you're going to crease it right here. Okay? And I'm going to draw a line on mine just so that you can see exactly where I'm creasing it. Where did I just put that really good marker? I don't know. That's kind of silly. I've got another one. Okay, so this is the line that we just made. Can anyone guess what is going to be in between the sun and Pluto? What is the middle point in between our solar system? Does anyone think actually think I can get this higher up. You can all see it if I get it all the way up here. Okay, any ideas? Ooh, looks like I stumped you. So right in the middle is going to be Uranus. Okay, so that's going to be a U. Now you can you can use stickers, you can draw the planets out, however you want. I'm just going to do the letters so that you can keep track of where I am. So this one, we're going to make a U right on the line. Uranus. What do we know about Uranus? Uranus, I believe, is mostly a gas planet, and it sits on its side. So now we've got the sun all the way up here, Pluto all the way down here, and the dwarf planets, and we've got Uranus right in the middle. The next thing that we're going to do is we need to fold it in half again. And I'm going to put my completed one here on the floor just so that I remember exactly what we have to do. Okay, so now we're going to fold it back in half so that Uranus is right here underneath. And now that it's folded, we're going to fold it one more time. Now we're making fractions here. For all you older kids, we're making fourths. So when we just folded it once, we've got a half, and now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths to make a full solar system. So now we've got, on the next two lines, on the outside, what planets or what areas of the solar system do we think might be here and here? I know we don't normally start with the experiment, so I kind of am waking you guys up a little bit earlier today. So write in the comments if you think you have any idea what is going to be either between Uranus and Pluto, or what's going to be between the Sun and Uranus. Let's see, looks like everyone's working hard at home, so I'm just going to keep on trucking through. And if you have any comments, feel free to type in. I should be able to see it from all my screens and setups that I've got going on here. Okay, so believe it or not, in between Uranus and the Sun, which is all the way up here, we've got, let's see, let's use green. You can use whatever color you want, is Saturn. So I'll draw that line so you can see it. And we've got Saturn right here. I don't know if you can quite see that. Okay, so we've got Saturn, we've got Uranus, and then right here on the 1, 2, 3, the 3/4 line, the other crease that we made is going to be Neptune. And Neptune is going to be down here. There's the Neptune line. And I'll draw an N for Neptune. And Neptune, on maps, we see it as blue, but it also is a gas planet. You know what? I think it might be Neptune that's on its side, not Uranus. So if you know any cool space facts, put them in the comments because I love space facts. But sometimes they're hard to remember for me. So I like to always keep a reference of it. All right, so far on our planet map, we've got the Sun, we've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to fold it back up just to the half point. All right, so now it's folded in half. Now we're going to fold it in half one more time. Okay, so now this is how it was before. This is in fourths. And now we need to do it into 16ths. Let's see, and it looks like, hopefully I'm still live because this exited out. Let's double check. Are we still live? Yes, we are. Okay, that's great. I've been duped before. All right, so now we've got a new line right here. Now we're making a half of a fourth is an eighth. So now we're going to make lines to mark the eighth point. So let's see. I'm going to use red because the next planet we're going to list has a big red dot on it. That big red dot is actually a storm. Does anyone think they might know? Anyone think they might know what planet is next? And it looks like I'm just catching up now to the space facts. Lainey says that space aliens are somewhere between Uranus and Pluto. That's a really great hypothesis, Lainey. And David also added that Uranus is on its side. Thank you. I should have gone with my first instinct. So if you said Jupiter, you're correct. Jupiter has giant stripes on it and a really big storm that's a red dot. And Jupiter is going to be that line that we just creased. It's going to be closer to the sun, in between Saturn and the sun. And we're going to make a big J for Jupiter. And again, you can use stickers, you can use markers, you can even use a string with tape on it, whatever you want. But you're going to need this so you don't get lost in space. Okay, so now we've got the sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, but we seem to be missing the ones that I live on, and I think you might live on it too. Anyone know what planets are we missing here? Write in the comments if you think you might have an idea of some of the important planets that we're missing. In the meantime, I'm just going to have a sip of my mint green tea. Okay, so now we need to get all of these important ones done. This is when I'm going to show you what my finished one looks like. Because the very last bit is actually all in 1/16 of the solar system. So let's see, David says we're missing Mars. We certainly are missing Mars. So now I'm just going to show you mine from Jupiter, which is here, to the sun. And I made my sun just a little line. Okay, so now when you have Jupiter right here, I want you to fold the sun to Jupiter. So you get a crease just like this. Okay, now this is the very smallest part, so you're really only folding the sun down to Jupiter. And then I want you to fold it one more time. But this time I want you to, you can fold it like this, so the sun to Jupiter, and now just fold that one more time in. Now you've got 1/32. Whoa, now we're getting really crazy with fractions. You don't have to worry about that. So now you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 lines here. Now, the very first line that we cut in half, which is going to be right here, believe it or not, is the asteroid belt. The asteroid belt is where Ceres and a bunch of other asteroids kind of fly around. Now, you might see in space movies that they're all around and you've got to dodge them, but actually it's so big and so vast that you really wouldn't have a hard time being on autopilot for that. Okay, so now we've got our asteroid belt, and now right in the middle of the asteroid belt and the sun is, you've got it, Earth. So I made mine blue and green. You can make yours however you want. So first we're going to do that halfway point. Then right below Earth, closer to the asteroid belt, we're going to make our Mars. Then between the sun, which is this yellow line at the top, and Earth, right in the middle, we've got Venus. And at the very top, we've got Mercury. So now you should have a pretty comprehensive map of the solar system just in case we get lost. Starting over here at the sun and ending all the way over here with all of my dwarf planets. Can you believe that the solar system is so spread out? I thought that they were a lot closer neighbors, but we find that our part of the solar system only makes up about 1/32 of the entire solar system. It really gives you an idea of how big everything is. So now I'm going to put my map up here, and you can always rewatch this stream at www.bethescientist, or I'm sorry, www.facebook.com/bethescientist/live if you want to replay how to do this. I also will have a public folder that has the instructions available. Okay, so now that we've made our map, it's time to read our story. And our story comes from a time capsule from my childhood and probably your grown-ups. And this is a story from the Magic School Bus. So hopefully you all know Miss Frizzle, my role model. I love her fashion and I try to dress just like her. Miss Frizzle takes her class on really wild adventures. In fact, everyone loved Miss Frizzle so much that McDonald's, when I was little, gave away these solar system trackers. So we can use the school bus to figure out where we are. But did you notice how close together all the planets are here? Now we know that in real life they're very, very far apart. But we can use the bus to track where we are. So now I'm going to take a seat, get a little closer to everyone, so that we can begin our story. Good job, everybody, on the map. That was pretty tricky, and you all did a bang-up, fantastic job. So now, I'm just going to share my screen. Again, we're going to use archive.org Open Library, and I might have to resize it because I made it ginormous. There we go. Okay, perfect. And I'll sit right here on the side. Okay, so this is the Magic School Bus, lost in the solar system. The Magic School Bus, lost in the solar system. Now, there's a lot going on each page. I'm going to read the main dialogues. Feel free to pause the stream if you want to read all of the dialogues. And you can also go on to archive.org yourself and check it out. Okay, so it looks like our friend here is presenting something. What is the solar system by John? The solar system is the sun and all of the bodies that orbit around it. The 9 planets, their moons, the asteroids, chunks of rock, and comets, balls of ice and dust. And it looks like he's acting it out with a lamp and some planets. And here's Miss Frizzle up in the front, and she's showing a picture of a map. Now, this is a map in a different way than how we drew our map. This one is drawn in orbits, because planets orbit around the sun, and including Earth. That means they go in a circle around the sun. Not only do they travel in a circle, but they travel like this and in a circle. So they rotate and they revolve. Okay, it was field trip day again in Miss Frizzle's class. Everyone was excited. We were going to the planetarium to see a sky show about the solar system. Class, an orbit is the path of a planet or object around the sun. I knew that. I get all A's in school. I have 5 computers, and my class went to the planetarium last year. Oh, what a show-off. Thanks for inviting your cousin Arnold. She's actually kind of nice when you get to know her. see Miss Frizzle's iguana right here. Arnold's cousin Janet was visiting our class for the day. I know all of you will be nice to our guests, said the Frizz. We tried to be nice to Janet. We really did. As we got on the school bus, we told her that Miss Frizzle is the weirdest teacher in the world, but Janet wasn't interested. She wanted to tell us all about herself. My school is taller than your school. Our swings are better than your swings, and my teacher is even weirder than your teacher. And Arnold's thinking, who even wants a small school? Or a tall school, rather. As usual, it took a while to get the old bus started, but finally we were on our way. As we were driving, Miss Frizzle told us all about how the Earth spins like a top as it moves in its orbit. It was just a short drive to the planetarium, but Miss Frizzle talked fast. When the Earth spins, we say it rotates. The Earth makes one complete rotation, or turn, every 24 hours. So that's what makes our days. We have new buses at our school, says Janet. At least it started on time. Ugh, this bus is a wreck. Looks like everyone's got something to say. When we got to the planetarium, it was closed for repairs. Class, this means we'll have to return to school, said the Frizz. We were so disappointed. Does anyone know what a planetarium is, by the way? Has anyone been to a planetarium? Oops, live TV. People are trying to call me. Not right now. Okay. A planetarium is a room that you go in with a big dome ceiling that you can see the stars on. They will project images up there to pretend like you're looking up at the night sky. But really, it's just a movie on the ceiling. Back to school, I'm so depressed. And here comes Janet saying, my planetarium is always open. On the way back, as we were waiting for red light, something amazing happened. The bus started tilting back, and we heard the roar of rockets. Oh dear, said Miss Frizzle, we seem to be blasting off. Here we go again! Not another crazy trip! Children, we are going through the atmosphere, the layers of air around the Earth. I guess we'll be seeing the solar system after all. My bus has bigger rockets than your bus. Yeah, right, Janet. And it looks like both Michael and Wanda brought some reports with them to help us understand why are spaceships launched with rockets. Spaceships cannot just fly into outer space. They need rockets to break free from the powerful grip of Earth's gravity. What is gravity? By Michael. Gravity is the force that pulls objects towards the center of the Earth. Other planets have gravity too. Larger planets usually have more gravity, and smaller planets usually have less gravity. That's the case for our solar system, but is not really a general rule in all of space. Now, the easiest way that I can describe gravity is go ahead and try to jump up. Did you come back down? If you did, that means that gravity pulled you back down. If you stayed up in the air, that means the gravity is broken at your house, and you should call someone immediately. When the roar of the rocket stopped, we looked around. Everything had changed. The bus had turned into a spaceship, and we were all dressed in spacesuits. And we were lighter than feathers. We floated above our seats. I'm flying! I'm flying higher than you are. Look, a UFB. A what? An unidentified flying banana! That's silly. Why do people feel weightless in space? By Phil. Gravity gives objects weight. Without a large mass nearby, such as a planet, there is no gravity to pull objects down, so they do not have weight. Now, this is kind of hard to explain, but everything still weighs something. But because we don't have the gravity of Earth, when you're in the space station, there is no up or down or south or north, left or right. Any way is up, and they will just float around unless they're tied down to something. Let's see if there's any comments that I've missed here. Let's see, louder, that was 6 minutes ago, so hopefully this is okay. I'm turning it up now. Okay. Far behind in the black sky, we saw the planet Earth getting smaller and smaller. We were traveling in space. We had become astronauts. Look how small the Earth seems from here. Class, notice Earth's blue oceans, white clouds, and brown land. It's beautiful. I think I have to go to the bathroom. You should have gone before you left, Arnold. The Frizz said our first step would be the moon. We got off the bus and looked around. There was no air, no water, and no signs of life. All we saw were dust and rock and lots of craters. Miss Frizzle said the craters were formed billions of years ago when the moon was hit by meteorites. Meteorites are falling chunks of rock and metal. We're so light on the moon. That's because the moon has less gravity than the Earth. And then this machine says your weight, what does it say? Your weight and something on the moon. Earth weight and moon weight. So it would feel like you were a different weight there. You will travel to faraway places. It looks like it also reads fortunes. I love Miss Frizzle's spacesuit, by the way. It was fun on the moon. We wanted to play, but Miss Frizzle said it was time to go. So we got back on the bus. We'll start with the sun, the center of our solar system, said the Frizz, and we blasted off. Look how high I can jump! I was in a national jump rope contest. I won, of course. Guess who that is? Janet. Is there a national bragging contest? Ugh. Oh man, seems like everybody... Okay, there we go. The Moon's Orbit by Amanda Jane. The moon travels in orbit around the Earth, just as the Earth travels around the sun. That's true. And I actually have a small moon to show you. Now, this is not an accurate depiction. Oh boy. It looks like my audio headset is quickly running out of battery, so we're going to make sure that our backup option is ready here. Let's see, we're going to need the speakers, testing. Okay, we're going to try to turn this off, turn the other one on, so it doesn't interrupt us halfway through. So hopefully you can still hear me. If you can, post in the comments if it is still working, let me know. Oh, there's a bit of blipping sound with your mic. Yeah, I think that was my battery alert. Al, how does it sound now? Let's see. It sounds good. Excellent. Okay, great. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's actually my friend Al and Joe's first wedding anniversary. Yay! So we're going to be celebrating right after this. After we get back from space, of course. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, yes. Okay, next page. We zoom towards the sun, the biggest, brightest, and hottest object in the solar system. Jets of super hot gases shot out at us from the surface. Thank goodness Miss Frizzle didn't get too close. She steered around to the other side and pulled away. We'll be seeing all the planets in order, class, explained Miss Frizzle. Mercury is the first planet, the closest to the sun. Okay, everybody, let's get out those maps. Now, when I look on my McDonald's map, we see the sun all the way over here, and Mercury is really, really close to the sun. Now, that's pretty much the same in our handwritten map as well. So, let's see. We've got the sun, and the red dot is Mercury. Now, the moon would just be right off of Earth, so it looks like they backtracked, and then they'll go back out. Okay, now the sun is 93 million miles away. It takes about 8 minutes for the sun's light to go from the sun to the tip of your nose. So that's a pretty long car ride if you think about it. You should never look directly into the sun, children. It can damage your eyes. That's true. So, especially for the trip, I brought some solar viewers. These solar viewers are made out of something called mylar filters. Now, if I wear them inside, I can't see anything. That's because it blocks out 99.99% of the light. But if I took this outside and looked directly at the sun, I would be able to see the sun safely in these glasses. If you saw the solar eclipse and had glasses from that, that works too. But make sure you always look down when you put them on. Secure them just like this, and then you can look up. You just want to make sure that you don't look at the sun directly. That will really, really hurt your eyes. Okay, so it looks like Miss Frizzle's got a map right here. Our path so far started at the Earth, hopped to the moon, then going past the sun. Now, sunspots are areas that are cooler than the rest of the sun. You can see sunspots with solar viewers also at nasa.gov. Let's see here. Let me just check in on all my viewers. How are you all doing? 19. Perfect again. Okay, great. All right, sorry everybody that I didn't see that in time, that it was so scratchy. Okay. Moving on. Mercury was a dead, sun-baked planet. The planet is a lot like our moon. There is no water and hardly any air, said the Frizz. Notice the craters on its surface as we pass by. And I did have a little moon that I was holding. Who knows where that could have gone off to? Couldn't have gotten far, but that little moon with all of those little craters on it is just like Mercury. So things that fly towards it are going to make an impact. And the deeper the holes, usually you can tell that those were the older ones. Well, not necessarily the deeper ones, but the ones that are underneath of others. You can tell, just like if you were throwing paint at something, which ones would go first. Okay. I love this book. I hope everyone is having a good time. Okay. We're on Mercury. Oh yes, the sun looks twice as big here as it does from Earth. That's because Mercury is so close. That's something called perspective. Depending on where you're looking at the sun from, it might look a little bit different. So the sun looks a lot bigger in the sky if we lived on Mercury than it does from here. Before long, we felt ourselves being pulled in by the gravity of Venus, the second planet from the sun. Venus was completely covered by a thick layer of yellowish clouds. We will now explore the surface of Venus, said Miss Frizzle. We're gaining weight and we haven't even had lunch. We will be heavier here than on the moon or Mercury because Venus has more gravity. And it looks like our friend Tim wrote us a little paper to help us. Why are Venus's clouds yellow? Earth's clouds are white because they are made of water vapor. Venus's clouds are made mostly of a deadly yellow poison called sulfuric acid. Now, I believe that sulfuric acid, is the stuff that kind of smells like human gas. It really smells like what you expel after dinner time. It's not good, so it's very smelly there. But they're all wearing suits and things like that. So hopefully that's good. Kira, you haven't ever seen a bus that can fly? Me neither. I guess only in this book I've seen a bus that can fly. But maybe one day someone can invent one. Okay, let's see. We're on Mercury. Okay. Below the clouds. Or, I'm sorry, we're not on Mercury anymore. My brain is in outer space. We're on Venus. Below the clouds, Venus was as dry as the desert. The ground was covered with rocks, and it was hot. It was about 400 degrees centigrade. That's much hotter than an oven baking cookies. There's no life on Venus, class. It's too hot. It's too dry. There's too much acid. Let's leave. The air was so heavy we could feel it pressing down on us. Miss Frizzle said there might be volcanoes around too. We said, let's get out of here. Our next stop is, anybody know what our next stop is? Let's take a look back at our map. Okay, so we went to Mercury. We just left Venus. And now we might recognize the next step is Earth. Let's see if they stop by Earth. I'm not sure if they will. Our next stop is, oh yeah, Mars, the red planet, fourth from the sun, announced the Frizz. On our way, we'll be passing through the orbit of Earth, the third planet. The bus lifted with a roar. So they're just going to go past Earth because they spent their whole life there. So they don't really need a reminder. As we came close to Mars, we passed its 2 moons, which are called Phoebus and Deimos. Sorry if I'm misreading that. It's very faint. Compared to our moon, they were tiny, and they weren't even round. So Deimos is 9 miles long, and Phobos is 18 miles long, and it looks like they're both an oblong shape. Looking down, we saw a huge canyon. Miss Frizzle said that it was as long as the United States. That's our country. There was a volcano 3 times taller than the tallest volcano on Earth. And all around, there were channels that looked like dried up riverbeds. Okay, let's see what it says down here. Those are moons? They kind of look more like potatoes with craters. Long ago, there may have been water in those channels. Yes, but today all Mars's water is frozen in the polar ice caps. Now, this book was written a little bit ago. We did recently find some frozen water that was not in the ice caps that the one of the rovers, the Curiosity rover, was able to find for us. So let's see. I'm just making sure I'm not ignoring anybody. Check in on the comments here. Okay. So we've got a volcano, just like on Earth. Ice cap, just like Earth. Canyons, Earth. Channels, just like Earth. Earth is the best planet for life. That's why I live there, said Janet. Janet likes to be the best. We noticed, said everybody. All right, looks like Arnold is back on. Oh, it's your weight and fate was the second word. So it's a fortune teller and a scale. Things will look rosy soon. So it looks like you weigh less on Mars. So he's 85 pounds on Earth and 32 pounds on Mars. Okay, so now let me bring up my map so that we can truly appreciate all the places we've been. We started at the sun, Mercury, Venus. We flew past Earth and the moon, Mars. Now we're going to have to go through the asteroid belt and a very long journey to Jupiter. Okay, let's see here. Oh, we're still looking at Mars. Okay, that was just a review. We landed and started walking around. Suddenly, a huge dust storm blew up. Miss Frizzle and said dust storms on Mars can last for months. They may cover the whole planet. We scrambled back on the bus and headed out. Are there any aliens here? I don't see any. Don't be too sure. Mars is the last of what we call the inner planets, Miss Frizzle shouted above the roar of the rockets. We will now be going through the asteroid belt to the outer planets. Now, a lot of science fiction or made up science movies talk about going to Mars and finding life on Mars. We even tend to call aliens Martians. We haven't found any clues that there's anything that looks like us in the solar system, but life might look different on Mars, like bacteria or little tiny one-celled organisms. We don't know. Isn't space travel exciting, Arnold? I really prefer film strips, says Arnold. He definitely gets a little car sick. All right, so there's our path so far. We went from the Earth to the Moon to the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Now we're going to go into the asteroid belt. Thousands of asteroids were spinning all around us. All at once, we heard the tinkling of broken glass. One of our taillights had been hit by an asteroid. Miss Frizzle put the bus on autopilot and went out to take a look. She kept on talking about asteroids over the bus radio. Man, that teacher can really do it all, can't she? The largest asteroid is only 1/3 the size of our moon. Most asteroids are the size of houses or smaller. I wish she'd come inside. Suddenly there was a snap. Miss Frizzle's tether had broken. Without warning, the rockets fired up and the bus zoomed away. The autopilot was malfunctioning. Uh-oh. On the radio, Miss Frizzle's voice grew fainter and fainter. Then she was gone. We were on our own. We were lost in the solar system. I do not remember that happening. Kids, I'll meet you later. Come in, Miss Frizzle. Come in, Miss Frizzle. Do you read me? Come in. Oh boy, what are they going to do? Most of us were too scared to move. But Janet started searching the bus. In the glove compartment, she found Miss Frizzle's lesson book. As she began reading from it, a huge planet came into view. Class, this is Jupiter, Janet read. It's the first of the outer planets and the largest planet in the solar system. So it looks like Janet's going to take over our lesson, maybe. So we got our inner planets. And now our first outer planet past the asteroid belt is Jupiter. She shouldn't touch Miss Frizzle's things, but this is an emergency. As we approach Jupiter, we can see some of its 16 moons. Arnold, are you listening? Boy, Miss Frizzle really plans everything. We thought the school bus was going to land, but there's no solid ground to land on. Jupiter is a gas giant, a planet made entirely of gas. As we left Jupiter, we wondered and worried, would we ever get home? Here's that giant red spot. Jupiter is so big that more than 1,000 Earths could fit inside. Miss Frizzle, where are you? Now, looks like here on your weight and fate on Jupiter, if Arnold is 85 pounds on Earth, he is 247 pounds on Jupiter. That is very, very heavy. The next sight made us forget our troubles. It was Saturn, a gas planet like Jupiter. It had swirling clouds and lots of moons. But the most incredible thing about Saturn was its rings. It was the most beautiful planet in the solar system. There are thousands of rings around Saturn, class. They look like the grooves in a phonograph record. that's a little bit of an outdated idea, but let me try and think of something that would have similar bumps to it. If you've ever put your finger over a ruler, there's creases on it. Kind of like that, where there's creases that go up and down. Saturn is the grooviest planet, man. And we've got the rings, which are made up of rock, ice, and dust. And look at this. On Saturn, our weight is almost the same. There's only about a 5-pound difference. Okay, now listen to this. This is cool. The Floating Planet by Phoebe. Saturn is made of materials that are lighter than water. If there were a bathtub big enough, Saturn could float in it. Could Saturn take a bath? Yes, but it might leave a ring. Oh, those kids. Next was Uranus, a blue-green gas planet with faint gray rings and moons. Some scientists think they might be made of chunks of graphite, the material used in pencils on Earth. Methane gas in its atmosphere makes Uranus look blue, another smelly gas. You look kind of blue yourself. I'm freezing. That's because we're so far away from the sun. So here, weight and fate, looks like we're even lighter than on Earth. Arnold went from 85 to 73 pounds. The bus was going faster and faster, and we couldn't control the autopilot. We swept past stormy Neptune, another blue-green planet, 8th from the sun. All we could think about was finding Miss Frizzle. Okay, so let's take out those maps again. We zoomed past the inner planets. We passed the asteroid belt. We passed Jupiter. We just took a look at Saturn and its rings. Then we had to travel a very long way to get to Uranus, which I didn't know has very light rings. And now, let's see. Oh, yes. So now we're on Uranus. And again, there is no U in outer space. This is just, well, there is, but not floating in outer space. It's actually a planet. I just made the U to remind myself what planet is what. We were going so fast. We almost missed seeing the 9th planet, tiny Pluto. Now, this is an old book, so I'm just going to summarize the whole kit and caboodle here, all right? Now, this was a highly debated topic back when I was in elementary school, which is why, yeah, it doesn't even say it in the asterisks. So Pluto is technically a dwarf planet. It got downgraded because we realized that there's lots and lots of other planets that look and act just like Pluto does. So if we made Pluto a planet, we would have to make hundreds of other planets also a planet. So we like to use it as a road sign to the end of the solar system between Neptune and Pluto. Wait, didn't we miss Pluto, Neptune, Uranus? Did I do that backwards? Huh. Okay, well, let's just keep reading and we'll see what happens. Pencils, great dark spot. We're almost out of gas. Oh, we're almost out of gas ourselves. And the nearest service station is 4,000 million kilometers away. We were going so fast, we almost missed seeing the 9th planet, Pluto. Oh yeah, we already talked about that. Pluto, not a planet, but it's a road sign, so that's good. There's nothing out there but stars. Maybe there's a 10th planet waiting to be discovered. In fact, there are millions of planets waiting to be discovered, waiting for you. It'll have to wait. I hope Miss Frizzle's waiting too. Janet flipped rapidly through Miss Frizzle's book. Suddenly, she found something new. The instructions for the autopilot. We punched in asteroid belt. on the control panel. Slowly, the bus turned around. It was working. We're gonna go back. Janet really saved the day. I told you she's a good kid. So it looks like they saved the autopilot system, and I guess the book skipped Neptune, or is that just me? Did I not remember that? Let me check back in to my comments. The microscopic pits in a CD-ROM. Yes, Joe, that's a really great example. Also something that I'm not sure that the young ones will recognize, but also a true fact. When we reached the asteroid belt, there was Miss Frizzle. So they had to backtrack their way all the way from Pluto, back past Neptune, past Uranus, past Saturn, past Jupiter, and to the asteroid belt. That's where they left Miss Frizzle. Hey, that asteroid is dressed funny. That's not an asteroid, it's Miss Frizzle. Boy, am I glad to see her. When we reached the asteroid belt, there was Miss Frizzle. With Frizzle back at the wheel, the bus headed straight for Earth. We re-entered the atmosphere, landed with a thump, and looked around. Boys and girls, we are arriving on Earth, the third planet from the sun. Thump! And look, there's a little parachute. And astronauts also use parachutes to come back down to Earth. It helps them to slow down. We were in the school parking lot again. The rockets were gone, the spacesuits were gone, the bus was a wreck, but everything was back to normal. Thank goodness. And look at this, guys, on the ground, touching the grass, saying, "Hello again, old friend." In the classroom, we made a terrific chart of the planets and a mobile of the solar system. So they took everything that they learned and they put it in a chart, and then they made a mobile that spins. That's pretty cool. Now, there's a big difference between the size of the planets and the distance in between them. You can really only have one accurate at a time, but I am going to post in my public documents a cheat sheet on how to make the distance of the planets if you want to do it on your street with some chalk. At last, it was time to go home. It had been a typical day in Miss Frizzle's class. Now, we only had one problem. Would anyone ever believe us when we told them about our trip? We went to outer space today. Of course you did, dear. My favorite planet was Jupiter. No, maybe Mars. Of course, Saturn was gorgeous too. Mom, make him stop. And there was Miss Frizzle floating among the asteroids. What an imagination. We could have been lost in space forever. Eat your salad, honey. And it looks like the newspaper says pilot reports a UFO. Do we think it could be the bus? An unidentified flying object? Attention, readers. Do not attempt this trip on your own school bus. The reasons why not. Number 1, attaching rockets to your school bus will upset your teacher, the school principal, and your parents. It will not get you into orbit in any way. The ordinary bus cannot travel in outer space, and you cannot become astronauts without years of training. Number 2, landing on certain planets may be dangerous to your health. Even astronauts cannot visit Venus. It's too hot. Mercury, it's too close to the sun. Or Jupiter, its gravity would crush a human being. People cannot fly to the sun either. Its gravity and heat would be too strong. Number 3, space travel could make you miss dinner with your family for the rest of your childhood. Even if a school bus could go to outer space, it would never travel through the entire solar system in one day. It took years for the Voyager space probes to do that. On the other hand, if a red-haired teacher in a funny dress shows up at your school, start packing. The end. What an adventure that was! Did everyone enjoy that? Let me see if I can find where everybody is in the comments, because it looks like my phone is not being as helpful as it was before. There we go. Okay, so we're back. We made it back safe and sound too. Now you've got your very own roadmap so you don't get lost in space. We took a magic school bus all the way to the ends of the planet, to the ends of the solar system, and back. And now you know what time it is. It's time for our goodbye song. So if you know it, sing it along with me. Before we sing the goodbye song, I want to give you more information on where to find me. If you love this session and would like a private session of your own, I plan them for everybody. Not everybody, but I plan them for some people. You can have your grown-ups message me or email me or check out my website, www.bethescientist.com, for more information. And check out my public Google documents as well as my Pinterest page for more science information. Here we go on the goodbye song. Everybody sing along. So long, farewell to you, my friend. Goodbye for now, until we meet again. So long, farewell to you, my friend. Goodbye for now, until we meet again. It's been great to play and sing together in the hive, but now it's time to say goodbye. So long, farewell to you, my friend. Goodbye for now, until we meet again. See you next time, everybody.